All right, I'm gonna let, while Sarah's getting the PowerPoint going, one other message or housekeeping announcement is that if you're applying for continuing education credits, please make sure that your full name is listed on your Zoom screen. And then finally, we will be monitoring the chat. If you have questions and you do want to put them in the chat, we will answer them as we go through the presentation. All right, Sarah, are you ready?
I can't hear him.
Sorry. So can everybody see the PowerPoint?
I can see it. I do have like a black box. I don't know if that's gonna.
Did the box go away?
It did now, yes.
The chat box.
Yes.
So I'm not sure I can look at the chat and share at the same time.
That's okay. I have the chat up.
Good.
All right. So sorry about the rough start here, folks. We'll get going now. I am Terri Lannon. I am a benefits specialist at ERI in Madison. With me is Sarah Schroeder, also a benefits specialist at ERI in Madison. And then I think our advocate has joined us. Did I see Autumn that you came in?
Yes.
Awesome. So we also have Autumn Dainert. And I apologize, Autumn, I did add your name to the PowerPoint and then I forgot to send it to Sarah. So I do apologize for that.
I was like, I don't know how to get in this. And I'm like trying to figure it out.
Well, good. I'm glad you made it. So today in this session, we are going to talk about getting more financially fit. So our goals for this session is we're going to talk about money and just get you thinking about money and how you manage your money. And if there are ways to manage your money that can, you know, help you save for things or have more money to do the fun things that you like to do. In order to do that, we're going to talk a little bit about budgeting, saving, and we're going to share some resources with you that can maybe help you do that. Next slide. So when we are talking about money, whether we're just talking about being able to pay our bills or whether we're talking about wanting to save for things, one thing that you want to take a look at is looking at the things that you need, the things that you're obligated to pay for, and the things that you might want. And then we're going to talk about, you know, balancing those out and taking a look at getting your bills paid and then being able to save for things or do things that you enjoy doing. And so first thing we're going to talk about is this needs versus obligations. Obligations are things that you have to pay for versus wants. So a need is something that you have to have in order to survive. So it's like a place to live, food. A want is something that you would like to have, but you don't need it to survive. So you don't need it right away. And an example would be like a PS5, if you guys know what that is, like a gaming system.
Yeah.
Obligations are things that you are required to pay for. So you are bound to pay those. Things such as credit card bills and loan payments. So I'd like to take a little bit of time and we're going to take a look at this. Oh, I keep forgetting it's not me. I'm trying to open the activity up. So we're going to take a look at this activity and we'll just use the chat. And we're going to talk about needs, obligations, and wants. So if we look at the items that are on the outside of these circles, if we look at groceries and other supplies, type in the chat whether you think groceries and supplies are a need, an obligation, or a want. Okay, yep, I'm seeing a couple needs, exactly. Groceries, you got to eat, so you need your food. Definitely, yep, definitely a need. I also see a comment that says internet is now a need versus a want, which is true, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute too. What about the one that says helping others? It's a hand with a $sign on it. So that would be like giving to charity or things like that. Do you think that's a need, an obligation, or a want? Yep, I'm seeing want. It would be great if we could help everybody. But being able to help others is definitely a want, and it's a great thing to strive for. So maybe it's something that people would want to save their money. Somebody said it's an obligation for some religions. Yep. Definitely, these aren't all going to have necessarily a black and white answer. What about pets? Do you think that's a need, obligation, or want? I'm seeing some wants come in. Definitely could be a want. I think it could be a need for some people. Anyone who might need a service dog. Yep, exactly. What about a debt payment? So a debt payment would be like a credit card bill or a loan payment. Exactly. Yep, I'm seeing that come in. It's an obligation. That's something that you promise to pay back and you have to. So you're responsible for that. Education and childcare. I see need, want. Yep, exactly. So yep, these aren't all going to have black and white answers. So education could be a want. Childcare is probably going to be a need if you're wanting to work or you have to go out for anything else. Childcare would be a need. Education, you could look at that as a need as well in some cases. What about entertainment and personal care? Yep. And the entertainment part would be a want for sure. Some personal care could be a need, I'm guessing. Toothpaste, things like that. What about the cell phone? I'm seeing a couple wants and I'm seeing a need. And exactly, we were just talking about this yesterday as well. In this day and age, a cell phone's kind of a need in many cases. Even I'm seeing someone says a smartphone's a want, but sometimes you might need a smartphone for things if you need to access the internet for anything and you don't have the computer or Wi-Fi service at your home or whatever. So could be a need, could be a want. And the last one is eating out. Eating out is a want. Yep, something we like to do. Could be a need too. I'm seeing someone say a need. You do have to eat. It is possible, I would guess, that some people might be in a situation where they can't cook at home, but so hopefully that gives you a good idea of like the needs, the wants, the obligations as we move forward and talk about budgeting. Next slide. All right. So before we dive into the actual resources we have for looking at your income and budgeting. We have a poll for you. So we're going to kind of look at your money habits and take a look at what you are doing around money. So I launched the poll. Sarah, can you see the poll?
Yep, I can see it.
Perfect. So if everyone can take a little time to answer these questions. I have a spending plan or budget. I track my spending every month. I pay my bills on time or before the due date. I have money in a bank or credit union. I pay my credit card balance in full every month. I know the total amount of any debts I have. I've seen my credit report in the last 12 months. I save money every month. I could pay for an unexpected expense today if I had to. Someone is saying they were unable to submit the poll. Oh, she got it. Glad to hear that, Anne. All right, I'm just gonna let a few more. Just make sure everybody gets their votes in. Oh, I have a note that you do have to answer all the questions in order to submit the poll. Good reminder. Thank you, Phil. All right. Looks like it's kind of, oh, wait, a couple more are coming in. That tip might have helped some folks. All right, let's take a look. If you didn't get your answers in yet, that's okay. I'm gonna see if I can share the results. So it looks like out of the folks that did the poll, 15 out of 20 said that they do have a spending plan or budget, which is great. 5 do not. 12 out of 20 people track their spending every month. 18 out of 20 people pay their bills on time. Everybody has money in a bank or credit union. That's awesome.
Oh,
It's about half and half on paying credit card balance every month. Some people might not have a credit card, and I'm sorry, I thought I had included an NA answer on that, but I did not. 17 out of 20 people know the amount of debt they have. 18 out of 20 people have seen a credit report. That's awesome too.
wow.
12 out of 20 people save money every month. It's great. And 15 out of 20 people say that they could pay for an unexpected expense if they had to. That's awesome. So it sounds like that everyone here has already, you're already thinking about money and you're already doing some of the things that are going to help you be more financially fit, be able to pay your bills, be able to save and do things that you enjoy. So that's really awesome. Next slide. All right, so we're going to talk about budgeting, setting goals, saving money. So if you're one of the people who's already doing a budget, that's awesome. Really great. If you're not, and you're just thinking about it, a good way to get started with that is tracking what you have coming in every month for money. And then what you have going out for expenses. And so we're going to share a couple of the resources that we have at ERI for that. And then we have a few other, these are kind of like worksheets, and we have some other worksheets that we're going to give you access to on the resource slide at the end of the presentation. So you'll have those to use as well. But first we'll take a look at the income tracker. So this is going to look at money that you have coming in, and you could have earned income, which is wages from a job. You could have unearned income, which is other money that you might get from SSI or SSDI that you get from Social Security, or gifts. And then with your income, there's something called gross versus net income. So we'll talk about that a little bit more as we go through the income tracker. But that's looking at the money that you earn, say, at your job, and then there's taxes that come out of that. So looking at what you actually bring home in your check versus the gross amount of income that you earn at your job. So we'll open up that income tracker. Excellent. And so, yeah, so if we just looked at like the month of October, to use this income tracker, you're going to look at what money do you have coming in, and it breaks the month out into 5 weeks. There might only be 4 weeks, and then you only have to use 4 of them. But you can type in what you get in your work earnings. So let's say you earn $500 in week 1. And $500 in week 3, because you get paid every other week. Or well, week 2 is fine.
We'll go to week 3.
All right. And then let's say you get SSDI of $800 in week 1, because it comes on the 3rd. We'll say that. So then if you scroll down, let's say that's all you get for income, it's going to show you what you have for income here in every week. So it's going to add those up. Now this is where I was talking about if you in the work earnings section where Sarah put in the $500, that's where you would want to think about gross versus net income. So your gross income from work is going to be different than what your check is. And so you can decide, it might be easier in my opinion, if it was my budget, but you can make that decision. I would probably put in there, yep, my net earnings from work. So what I'm going to actually see from my check, not the gross, because then what I see in my check is what I'm going to have to spend. Perfect. So that's going to give you an idea of what you have for income coming in every week. Excellent. And then now, once you know how much income you have coming in, you also can look at what you have for expenses or money going out. So it's a really good idea to track your expenses, you know, keep track of whether you go to Starbucks or if you get the groceries or pay your bills, and then keep receipts. And then we always have to think about the fact that we do have fixed versus variable expenses. So fixed expenses are going to be something that's going to be similar every month, like your rent. Variable expenses are going to be like groceries. You don't always know how much groceries are going to be. Or you might have expenses that you don't have every month. Sometimes they're every other month. So those might be a fixed amount, but they might not get paid every month. So there's going to be some different different types of expenses you will have. We'll take a look at the spending tracker. So again, you know, you can do this for the month, and you would, you know, want to look at your income for the 1 month, and then do the expenses for that same month. And so again, you can break out your expenses kind of like when you pay them. So if you pay rent, you probably pay that in week 1. It's probably due on the 1st. So let's say your rent is $500. And then you can put in how much you spend each week on groceries. I don't know, Sarah, let's say $50 a week. Perfect. And then you might have other expenses. You might have utilities, or they might be included in your rent. Under transportation, maybe you buy a bus pass. Or if you have a car, you have to buy gas. Let's say we buy a bus pass. I don't even know how much a bus pass is. Somebody tell me in chat how much a bus pass is. Nope. Nobody rides the bus. I don't know.
I looked that up and it's $35 for a discounted bus pass per month in Madison.
Perfect. $35. And then let's say you like to eat out every once in a while. So maybe a couple times under entertainment, Sarah, you could put in, I don't know, $15. Perfect. All right. So then again, if you look at this, you'll see that it's going to add up what your expenses are every week. And so then you would be able to do a comparison of what money do I have coming in? What expenses do I have going out? And like I said, there are a couple other resource documents like this that are pretty simple to use, where you can kind of see the interaction of those. Then you could maybe take a look at it and see where you could cut back, where you might have money to be able to save, or things like that. Autumn, did you have any thoughts that you wanted to share as far as what you do to track your income and your expenses? Oh, sorry. Autumn, I'm getting you unmuted. Hold on. Joe, does Autumn have to unmute herself? Okay. We'll move on to the next slide, and if we can figure out how to get Autumn unmuted. She can join in. All right. Oh, we are on the next slide. So sorry. Borrowing money. So sometimes when we are thinking about saving for something, we do have to borrow money. Oh, Autumn is unmuted. Yay. Autumn,
I'm trying to figure that out.
did you have anything to add about how you track your income and your expenses and make sure you can pay all your bills and things like that?
I had one of my friends give me like a planner, like a booklet telling me like to like write down every month how much I spend and see how things, go. And then I try and save enough money for my highly bills.
Perfect. Perfect. And then I know you and I had talked and you had saved enough money for a down payment on a car.
Yes, I did.
So did you have to give up anything in order to save money?
I had to save enough money for, I used to work at Lilac and try to save enough money to have enough to pay the vehicle, how much to put down.
Mhm. Did you set aside a certain amount of money out of each check, or was it just what you could afford that week?
That was like the much I had saved up.
Okay.
And I was like, wanted a new vehicle and
All right, sounds good. And then I'm going to have you chime in after this slide as well. So we're going
Okay.
to talk a little bit about borrowing money. So like in Autumn's case, you know, she needed a new car and saved up the money for the down payment. And then sometimes you still don't have enough money to get the item and you need to borrow money. Not everybody can borrow money. Not everybody wants to borrow money.
Yep.
But it is something that you can do, and there's different ways to do that. You can borrow with a loan. So you can have student loans, payday loans, auto loans. You can have credit cards. Credit cards will have a dollar limit on them that you can use to pay for things, and then you have to pay that money back. And then credit is just the amount of money that you can borrow from either a credit card or a loan. And you always have to repay these, and there is interest on all of them. And if payments aren't made on time, there's extra interest. And then when you are borrowing money, they will look at something called your credit score, which is taking a look at, you know, what credit have you had in the past? Have you made your payments on time? How much credit do you have? And they're going to look at figures like, or things like that, and figure out if they're going to give you that loan or that credit card. So those are all important things. So that's one of the reasons that it's important to do the budgeting and to, you know, make sure that you are able to pay your bills on time and things like that. So Autumn, you did get a loan for the rest of your car after you put the down payment on it, correct?
I didn't get a loan. I saved enough money and they like gave me like accept what I had, and I still have a debt of like 17,000 or a little bit more. I have to pay.
And so you pay monthly payments on that?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Do you pay that to a bank?
I pay them like 252.82 to like the Hyundai Finance.
Okay. So it's through the car
Yep.
Dealership. Yep. Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. Do you have any other thoughts on borrowing money? Was it pretty easy for you to get that?
My mom gave me like a little bit of money to like put down a little, and if
Okay.
I need some money, she will, help me buy some things if I need it.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Next
And
slide.
I'm pretty good at like paying all my bills on time.
You are indeed. All right. So I kind of already touched on this. I went a little bit out of order. We talked about expenses before and tracking your expenses. So we talked about the fixed expenses that don't change, like rent, car payments, insurance. And then we talked about the ones that do change, groceries, gas, utilities. Next slide. And then I also mentioned when we were doing that income worksheet, talked about the fact that some people work, some people get cash payments from Social Security called SSI or SSDI. And a thing to remember is that SSI and SSDI can sometimes be affected by work. It depends on which program you're talking about, lots of things, but it's very important to let Social Security know when you are working so that they do pay you correctly. And so we just have a little video for you talking about how to report your wages to Social Security.
If you are an SSI or Social Security Disability Insurance beneficiary, it's important to report your wages to Social Security. Using your personal My Social Security account, this process is quick, secure, and easy. To begin reporting your wages using My Social Security, please contact us at 1-800-772-1213 or contact your local Social Security office and speak to one of our representatives. Once you have registered, you can start reporting your wages online using your My Social Security account by going to www.socialsecurity.gov/myaccount. Create or sign into your My Social Security account. Scroll down on the main page and select Submit Pay Stub Information. Select the appropriate person if you are reporting wages for someone else and select Next. Select the appropriate employer and select Next. Enter how frequently you are paid by your employer and select Add Pay Stub for this employer. Enter your pay stub information and select Update. When you are done entering your pay stub information, select Exit. Congratulations, your reporting is complete and your information is now updated in our secure system. If you need extra assistance in creating your account, please contact our My Social Security hotline at 1-800-772-1213 and say Help Desk. See what else you can do online at socialsecurity.gov. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at UN.
All right, awesome. Autumn, I know you are very good at reporting your wages from work. How do you report them?
I use a app, and sometimes the app like acts up a little bit, and then I have to contact them.
Sure, sure. So you use the SSI wage reporting app on your smartphone?
Yep.
Perfect, perfect. So that is a really great way to do it, as well as what we just saw in the video. Other ways to report are just sending in copies of pay stubs, or if someone is able to fax copies of your pay stubs, that can work as well. And I'm going to have another poll for you. And I apologize, folks, when you see the black box over the slides, it's the poll coming up on Sarah's side. I know somebody mentioned that before, and I don't know if I know how to, oh, there, okay.
I took it off.
Sarah closed it.
I'd be interested to know if people are willing to put in the chat how they do report, if they know how. You know,
Great.
do you use that online reporting or do you fax your stuff in?
Nothing yet. All right. So it looks like, oh, I just had another one come in. All right, it looks like 13 out of 18 people know how to report their wages to Social Security. I hope you learned a little bit more about it today. And if you need any more information on how to report your wages, you can always feel free to contact Sarah or I at ERI, and we're more than happy to point you in the right direction. And our contact info will be at the end of the slides. So you can take a look for that. And it looks like I only got one answer, Sarah, and it looks like they also use the app on their phone,
Okay.
the SSI wage reporting app.
Thank you.
All right. Next slide, and I think Sarah's going to take over from here.
Yeah, if I can get the slide to go. There we go. All right, so we're going to be talking a little bit about banking and where you keep your money. So there's a couple different types of accounts you can get when you get bank accounts. There's a checking account, and that is just a way you can deposit money and pay your bills. Some checking accounts have a minimum balance that you have to have, like $10 or $15, and some don't. And usually a checking account will come with either or both a debit card and checks. So I don't know how many people still use checks. I do, but a lot of people now just use a debit card to pay most of their purchases. And then you can also have a savings account. And usually with a savings account, you get a little bit of interest, which is just a little bit of extra money for having your money at, that certain bank. So it might just be, a few dollars a year or something like that. But I always say, any extra money is good extra money. And savings is usually, you put that in there because you're saving for something for the future. And I'm just going to skip down a little bit because I have in there that often direct deposit, you can direct deposit some of your wages into your savings, which makes savings really easy. So when you start a job and you have to fill out that form with your bank information on there, you can often say that you want to have, the majority of your money put into your checking account, but you can also put in maybe, $5 or $10 or 2% or something like that of your wages directly into your savings account every month. And then, you're kind of paying yourself first and you don't even miss that money. So it's a great way to save. And again, the checking accounts usually come with a debit card, and that is something that you just use at the point of purchase, and it takes the money directly out of your account when you purchase it, versus like a credit card, which you pay, you use but then pay later. Social Security benefits and wages are often directly deposited into your account. And Social Security, if you don't have a checking account or you just want it to be deposited a different way, you can add that Social Security benefit directly onto a Direct Express debit card. But it's nice to have things directly deposited because then you don't have any paper to lose. You're not carrying around a paper check. You lose it and then you have to call to get a replacement or something like that. And then online banking. A lot of people use that now. You can do it right on your phone. You can do it on your computer, but it's a really great way to keep track up to date of what's happening with your account. So it allows you to see your information right away. You can sign up for alerts, transfer money between, checking and savings. And then you can also schedule bill pay, auto bill pay. So, your bills can be deducted right out of your account every month, which is nice because then you don't have to think about, when things are due, your bills won't ever be paid late. And I just wanted to say something about the sign up for alerts. I love alerts. I have it on my account. So I get an email every time there's a purchase of over $1 coming out of my account. So I know exactly what's coming out of my account, and if I don't recognize something, I can always log in online and see what it is. Or, if it's something that I say, oh, I don't know what that's for, I can always contact the bank right away. So kind of being proactive with that. All right, so saving money. Oh, I forgot the poll. Let me go back. All right, so there's poll 2. All right, do you have a bank account and what kind of account? Well, it looks like, wow, 100%, 15 out of 15 have a bank account, which is awesome. Oh, and it's even going up higher. And then a majority of folks also have both a checking and a savings. Wow, that is great. Wow, 22 out of 22 have a bank account. And 19 out of 22 have both a checking and a savings account. Fantastic. All right. All right, so I think, so I don't forget the poll, Terry, can you do the next poll? It's going to ask if you have something you want to save for. You can just put yes or no, and then if you would be so kind as to type into the chat what it is that you're saving for. And since I can't see the chat, Terry, if you want to tell me what folks are saving for.
You betcha.
The majority of people do have something they want to save for, 67 or 10 out of 15 going up.
Yep. I've been seeing vacation, computer, retirement, another
Okay.
vacation. I'm putting in mine, which is a kitchen remodel, shopping, vacation, a new deck.
I think there's probably always something that you want to save for, no matter what.
Yeah, so 17 out of 22 have a savings goal right now. So
All right, well, we're going to give you a few tips on how to save a little bit. So just begin by looking at your want expenses. And again, those are things that you want, but you don't necessarily need right away. So are there some things that you could do without? So the one that I thought of is, you know, do you have Netflix and Hulu? And can you just do, you know, can you just do with one? So that would save you a little bit every month. If you are somebody who likes to eat out every week, can you cut that down to just twice a month? Or if you're a coffeeaholic and you go to Starbucks all the time, maybe you can cut that down. So just thinking about, you know, even just keeping track of the things that you spend every week, and then looking at that and seeing, do I really need to spend all of that? So again, including savings as part of your spending plan. Again, you can most likely have some of your wages directly deposited right into your savings account. And they always say that's just paying yourself first. And it's a lot easier if you don't even know the money is missing, so to speak, because it's just gone directly into savings and you're not going to miss it. So you can also try just putting $1 a day or your pocket change into a jar, and then at the end of the month, deposit into your savings account. I have a giant jar sitting next to my bed, and I've been just putting all my loose change in there since probably for the last year or so, and it's getting pretty tall. And I know that when I take it in, there'll be, you know, maybe a couple $100s in there, which is great. It can really add up. And when you shop for items like food and clothes, look for things that are on sale. Or if you're at the grocery store and you're looking at, you know, you want to buy a box of cereal and you have the brand name and the generic. Can you buy the generic? Does it, you know, is it just as good as the brand name? There might be some things that you really have to buy brand name or that you just don't like it generic. But there are a lot of things that are, you know, they're pretty much the exact same. So why not get them a little bit cheaper? And if you can, work on breaking expensive habits, excessive clothes buying, drinking, smoking, and then you can save the difference. I had just put down, so cigarettes, I don't know exactly how much they cost for a pack, but I'd said like $10. So if you smoke just a pack a week, which probably is pretty small, most people probably smoke a lot more than that, but if you just smoke a pack a week, that would be about $520 a year. And if you could cut that in half, you would save $260, you know, which might not seem like a lot, but that can really add up. All right. I didn't miss anything. All right, so now we're going to talk about other ways to save. So there's something called the Achieving a Better Life Experience, or ABLE accounts, Special Needs Trusts, or SNTs, and the Plan to Achieve Self-Support, or PASS plans. And the next few slides have a lot of information on them, so I'm just going to kind of pare that down and talk about the highlights of each. So why should you have these ABLE or SNT accounts? For different Social Security benefits like SSI and health insurance like Medicaid, there are resource limits. So for SSI and straight Medicaid, there's a $2,000 resource limit, or usually like money that you have in the bank, so your checking and savings accounts. So if you go beyond that, then you wouldn't be eligible for those benefits anymore normally. But with ABLE and SNT accounts, the money that are in those accounts don't count towards that resource limit. So you can go above and beyond that $2,000 limit, which is nice, because then when you start working, you know, and are able to save a little bit, you can start saving for things that are a little bit more expensive, or, you know, just have some money put away. So with an ABLE account, excuse me, the highlights here are to set one of those up. You need to be disabled before age 26. So there are age limits on there. You can be older than 26 right now, but you just have, your disability just has to have begun before age 26. You can sign up for an ABLE account right online. And each state has their own ABLE accounts. Wisconsin actually doesn't have an ABLE account, but people living in Wisconsin can sign up for pretty much any other state's account. And one of the resources at the end of the presentation here is the ABLE website, which is ablenrc.org. And they have a really great website with a lot of easy to understand information. And one of them is comparing the different states' accounts. Each one is a little bit different. The one that we have here is, I believe, from Pennsylvania. So the information might be a little bit different. And you can go on to that ABLE NRC website to compare. You can deposit up to $15,000 in the account per year. There are some limits. If you get SSI, for example, the most you can have in an ABLE account is $100,000, which, you know, that's a lot of money. So it can take quite a while to get there. But then the money in that account, not only does it not count as a resource towards that limit, excuse me, but you can spend it. And you can spend it on a pretty broad range of items. So you can spend it on what they call QDE, or qualified disability expenses. And they're very broad. So that would include things like schooling or housing, so paying your rent, transportation, healthcare, food. It's a pretty broad spectrum of things that you can spend the money in those accounts on. Versus a special needs trust, excuse me, you can set one of those up at any age. So there's no age limit, but those usually have to be set up by an attorney. And that can get kind of expensive. And so one of the resources at the end of the presentation is WISPAT, which is what people use a lot to get their special needs trust set up in Wisconsin. And so they have a lot of information on their website, and you can contact them if you want more specifics. But the thing about the special needs trust also is the distributions, or what you can spend your money on. You have to request it. So it can take a little bit of time to get approved, and what you can spend the money on is more strict. So you can pay for things like big expenses, like a trip or a vacation, or a computer or something like that. But you can't use money in a special needs trust for regular recurring expenses like rent or food or utilities or things like that. So it's a little bit more strict than the ABLE account. I'm just gonna go through the slides here, all the information. And if you get I think one of our resources is this comparison chart, which is just the same information that's here. And I did want to also just talk a little bit, since I had said it earlier, about the plan to achieve self-support, or the PASS plans. And those you get through Social Security. And it allows you to put money aside for a specific work goal. And it'll pay for what they call startup costs. So it could be going to school for a specific thing, like you know, you want to be a veterinary tech or something like that. Or if it's used a lot when you want to start your own business. So if you want to be self-employed. And the money that you set aside doesn't count as income or resources. So again, that resource limit isn't a barrier. So if you're receiving SSI, or if you're getting SSDI, and you could qualify for SSI after putting some of that money away, you might be eligible for a PASS plan. Now, they're not easy to get. There's some paperwork to fill out. You have to have a lot of specific information about what your work goal is, what the timeline is, as far as, you know, I'm going to start school at this point, I'll finish at this point, how much is it going to cost? Excuse me. You'd need to know, you know, how much is the schooling going to cost? How much are your books going to cost? What else might you need during that time? And if you want to start your own business, Social Security requires you to have a detailed business plan be submitted along with the paperwork. So if you did have questions about PASS plans, you could always contact Terri or I, and we can give you more information. All right, I think we have another poll, Terri. Poll 3.
All right, there you go.
So we've got, do you use a grocery list? Do you buy things on sale? And do you use coupons? And I'd say for me, I use a grocery list every time, which is great because you don't want to just be randomly taking things off the shelves. But I do have a tendency when I'm in the cookie aisle to, that's when I do the random taking of things off the shelf. But it looks like 100% of people use a grocery list, which is awesome. It keeps you on track and keeps you from spending, you know, more than you want to. 95% or 18 out of 19 buy things on sale, which is great. And 80% use coupons, 16 out of 20. Awesome, we've got a majority on all of those. All right, so to spend or not to spend. And I think I mentioned this before, but if you're just starting out or looking to start a budget, it can be a good idea to kind of write down or keep receipts of everything that you spend for like 2 weeks or a month or something like that, to kind of really see what do you spend your money on and maybe what you could cut out. So, you know, again, if and you'd be surprised at what you spend things on that you don't realize. You might, you know, you're going into the mini mart and you buy a pack of gum, and that might not seem like a lot, but if you're doing that, you know, on a constant basis, it's something that you need to know, especially if you're on a really strict budget and you don't have a lot of money that you can save, to know where all of your money is going, not just the big recurring bills like your utilities or your rent, but you want to know where everything's going. So you want to be a smart spender, and you want to use your money to pay all of your needs. So everything that you need, your rent and your food and things like that, and some of your wants. You're going to use that leftover money if you can for something that you want. So advice, you all have you're all using your shopping list when you go grocery shopping, which is great, and try to stick to it. Coupons, use those and look for things that are on sale. And again, can you buy something that's generic instead of brand name? Don't go food shopping when you're hungry. That is all a guarantee that you're going to pick up stuff that you don't really need. And then
I have
Yep.
another, I can't think of the word that I'm looking for, a tip in the chat. One thing I do, it says, is have one salty snack, one sweet snack, and after that, no more snacks. So they only let themselves buy 2.
Wow, that's really good advice. I think that would be hard to stick to, but it's awesome if you can. And that's going to save you money and keep you healthy. All right, and then you want to ask yourself a couple questions before you make a purchase. So, do I really need this? Is it something that I need, or is it something that I just want? Will I wear it or will I use it? So, you're in the store and you're looking at a shirt. Will I wear it, or is it just something that caught my eye because it's sparkly? Not necessarily really sparkly, but it just caught your eye. And if you buy this, will you be able to pay your other bills? So if you buy it, will you be able to still pay for all of your needs? Because you need to make sure to pay those first, and then again, get some of your wants. All right.
And I think we're at the end of our time, right?
We are, exactly, 4:16.
Perfect.
All right, well, let me just quick go down to our resources. So there's some resources there you'll be able to click on to get to, and then our information if you need to contact us. And I don't think we have time for questions.
I'm willing to stick around here for a couple more minutes if anybody did have questions, but we want to be mindful of your time. So thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks. And if you do have questions that you don't have time to get to us now, just go ahead and email us.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.